Hello everyone, in this video we're going to discuss about static keyword. So what that static keyword means, what is a static variable, what is the difference between a static variable and a non-static variable. We're going to discuss all these things. So let's get started. Now let's discuss about static variable. So first I'll create a class called student, and inside this let's create some parameters. So the first one would be the percentage, and the next one would be, let's say, the roll number of the student, and the other one would be it would be the name of the college, string college. So these are the three parameters which we've created. Now let's create some objects. Okay, so how do you create an object? Student, let's say the name of the object is Kamal. Let's give the name of a student itself. Kamal equals new student, and let's create another student. Let's say Priya equals new student. So we've created two objects here. So let's give some values to them. So let's say Kamal dot roll number equals 1, and Kamal dot percentage equals, let's say, some 70%, and Kamal dot college equals, let's say the name of the college is Waste College. The name is looking somewhat different, so I just kept the name that way. So let's look at Priya then. Priya dot roll number equals 2, and Priya dot percentage equals, let's say, 90%. She's the topper of the class. Priya dot college equals waste college. So we've specified the values for both the objects. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a method called a show, which displays the values. Here the first thing would be roll number plus some gap plus the percentage plus some gap and the name of the college. So now we've created this method. Here we need to close. Yes. Now let me call this particular method Kamal dot show and Priya dot show. So if I run this particular program, here you could see all the values got printed. 170 Waste College and 290 and Waste College. So here the thing Kamal, which you could see here, this Kamal. So this Kamal, this particular reference would be created in the stack memory, and by using this new keyword we have created an object in the heap memory. So a memory will be allocated for this particular object in the heap memory. So there are two things called as stack memory and heap memory. Let's not go into the details of what those both things are, but there are two things, a stack and heap memory. So an object memory would be allocated in the heap memory. So that is what you just understand for now. So now here you have this, let's say the name of the college is changed to Best College. I wanted to change the name, so they've changed this to best college. Now if we run this particular program, you could see that best college has been printed here only to this particular object, but it hasn't changed in this object. So why? So here, if you could see the variables, the roll number, percentage, college, all these variables here are object specific. What does that mean? If you could see this roll number here, this roll number is only to this particular object. It only refers to this particular object. So roll number 1 is only referring to Kamal. It's not referring to Priya. Same with everything, percentage and the college. They're all only referring to this particular object. So these are object specific variables. So in order to make if you don't want this variable to be object specific, then you can make this a static variable. For example, if you could see this college over here, this college variable, whatever the roll number, percentage, those things might change, but the name of the college doesn't change. For example, if you have 500 entries or 1000 entries of students, and if the name of the college is suddenly changed, then you can't change the name of all the entries. So what we do generally is we put static keyword before this. Now what the static keyword does is, you could see both the names got changed to best college here. So what the static keyword does is, it doesn't only change for a particular object, like the values won't get changed for only one object. It will get changed for all the objects at once. So this particular static keyword is now I said that memory will be allocated for variables in the heap memory. Like for the object, the memory will be allocated in the heap memory. So what normally it does is, if you don't mention the static keyword, now for this college, it will allocate one separate space. And if I create some 1000 entries of students, it will allocate 1000 spaces. But if I put static keyword here, what that does is, it will only allocate a single space in the class loader memory. So there will be separate memory called as class loader memory. In that memory, it is going to allocate a single space. So what that does is, it would help in reducing the memory, and so that would be more memory efficient. And the second advantage is, it is going to change all the, if the variable is repeating once and you have to change it once, you can change it by using the static variable here. And one more thing is, now if you could see these particular variables, see this Kamal dot percentage, Kamal dot roll number. Why are we using this Kamal here? Because, why are we using this particular object name? Because they're object specific. They are with respect to this object. But since we mentioned the name of the college as static, we need not refer it with respect to the object. We can refer it with respect to the class. So if I say student.college, that would also be correct. Mostly we refer to a static variable with class name, but we don't refer it with object name. We can refer it with, we can call it with object name, but we don't call it with object name. We call it in general with the class name, because it doesn't have anything to do with the object. It is for the whole class. So you can call it with the class name. And the only thing I say is, if you have any variable which is repeating a lot of times, then it is better you put that variable as static, because that would save the memory. And the next thing is that particular value will be for all the objects. So that would be a lot convenient and better. So okay, till here it's fine. You understood what a static variable is. Now let's say I'll create a constructor called a student, and inside this I'll store some values. Let me say roll number equals 1 and percentage equals let's say 90%. In case you don't know what a constructor is, just to check my previous videos. So basically a constructor is nothing but these are the values which will be called when you create an object. They'll be instantly shown. when you create an object. So that is what a constructor is. So let's name the college as, let's give some random name, junior college. So yes, we've specified some values, but if you give the name of the college here as junior college, so whenever you create the object, so these values will be the default value. So that is what a constructor is, right? So whenever you create an object, these values will be like the default values that will be shown. But here, since this particular college variable is static, the memory allocated for this particular thing is the class loader memory. The class loader memory is allocated for this, and the heap memory is allocated for all the non-static variables. So the memory class loader memory is allocated. So the value of this particular variable should be only assigned once, right? So you can't assign them as many times as you want. So what happens here is, when you create a constructor, if for example, if I create something like 1,000 objects, like if I create 1,000 students data, so this particular college thing will be called 1,000 times, because the job of constructor is to like, what is a constructor? If you create an object, these values will be shown. So 1,000 if you create 1,000 objects in the heap memory, this college variable will have 1,000 places, like 1,000 slots will be provided for this in the heap memory. So that will be a waste of space. If you if you have this static variable here, what it does, it only allocates a class loader memory, so which will be called only once. Now you might get a doubt. Okay, so constructor is for non-static variables. So in order to in order to call the non-static variables, we're using this constructor. If I need a constructor for static variables, then how to do that? So there is something called as static blocks. Static block is nothing but, you mention this way, and if I say, let's say college equals junior college. Now let me remove all this waste college and all this stuff. We just have two things. We just have objects and we have this dot show thing. So here you could see 190 junior college, 190 junior college. So what the static block does is, whenever you load this particular class, it gets executed. How many ever objects you create, it will only execute once. Now you might get a doubt. How do we know that this is only getting executed once? We don't know, right? It might even execute twice. So what is the proof that it is only executing once? Okay, so for that, here I'll write static, and inside this particular constructor also, let's print something out. Let's say constructor. Now if I run this so if I run this particular thing, see, you could see that static only got printed once, but constructor got printed twice. This is because constructor will be called whenever you create an object. Here we created two objects, so it got printed twice. But the static variable will only be called once. If you print it once, if you give the value here 1, it will only execute it one time. It will not execute. You create n number of objects, but it is going to only execute one time. So that is what a static block is. So what finally we understand is, static variables are those variables which are same for all the objects. If you create a static variable, that value will be same for all the objects. It is not object specific, it is class specific. But non-static variables are not same for all the objects. They change for each and every object. And there is one more thing. You might get this question, like, can you access a non-static variable inside the static class or not? So let us say I created some variable here. Here, if I've created a variable int x equals 1, I've created a variable. Now this is the static class. Now if I say sysout I, it is showing red. It is saying cannot resolve symbol I. So by this, what we can understand is you cannot access a static variable. You cannot access a non-static variable inside a static class. If you could see this main over here, you see this normally, right? Public static void main. This is the main class. Even the main class is static. Why? Because when you call over, if you have to create some variables and call those variables, you need not create an object, right? You don't create any object in order to call the variable. So even the main class is static, and you cannot access non-static variables inside the static class.
Hope you understood everything about the static keyword. So before you watch this video, please do access the playlist and check out all the videos. Thank you everyone for watching this video. Please do like, share and subscribe to my channel. We'll meet in the next one.